Hey everybody, Ryan here at Etrailer. Today on our 2019 Mazda CX-5, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the CURT Trailer Hitch receiver. But what I really like about this hitch is that for the most part it's going to be completely hidden. Really the only thing you're going to be able to see is a receiver tube opening, and it's almost going to look like it's part of your car. Now what kind of separates this is the finish. It's going to have more of a gloss black finish, and in my opinion it stands out a little bit more. But if that's the look you're going for, then this will be a great choice for you. Many of our CX-5 customers plan on using their hitch for accessories like cargo carriers and bike racks. This is going to work really good for those. And that's really because it's going to give us good bumper clearance. So what I mean by that, the end of the receiver tube opening is going to sit just behind our bumper and really give us the space we need to use our folding accessories without having to worry about them contacting the back of our Mazda. So this is a class 3 hitch, so it's going to give us that 2" by 2" receiver tube opening and a reinforced collar for extra strength. It's going to have the standard 5/8 size pinhole. Keep in mind a pin and clip does not come included with the hitch, but if you need one, you can find it here at Etrailer. It's going to have loop style safety chain openings, which aren't huge, but they're going to give us enough space to use just about any size hook that we might have. The hitch is going to have some pretty good weight capacities. As far as the maximum gross tongue weight rating goes, it's going to be 600 pounds. So that's going to be the amount of weight pushing down on the hitch. That's a pretty high number, so you should be able to use just about any bike rack or cargo carrier that you would want to. As far as the maximum gross trailer weight rating goes, it's going to be 4,000 pounds. So that's going to be the amount of weight pulling on the hitch. So that's the weight of your trailer plus anything that you might have on it. Now I do like to recommend it's never a bad idea to check with your CX-5's owner's manual to make sure your Mazda can pull up much weight. And if you do plan on doing a little bit of towing, myself as well as some of our customers recommended the CURT trailer wiring. That way the lights on your trailer will sync up with the lights on the back of your Mazda and you'll be safe and legal. And if you're like many of our customers wanting to pair up a good bike rack with the hitch, a lot of our customers said that they really like the Swagman Chinook 2-bike platform rack because of its functionality and its looks. Now I'm going to give you a couple of measurements, and you're going to use these to help figure out which hitch mounted accessories to get. From the ground to the top inside edge of the receiver tube opening, it's going to be about 13.5 inches. So chances are pretty good you're going to need to get a ball mount with a rise. From the center of the hitch pin hole to the edge of the rear bumper, that's going to be about 4 inches. And you're going to use that measurement to help figure out that if any folding accessories you might have can be stored in an upright position without contacting the bumper. But other than that, a really versatile hitch that looks good and is made right here in the USA. Now as far as the installation goes, it does take a little bit of time, but it's not really confusing. Everything is straightforward. You should have no problem getting it done at home. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and put it on together now. To begin our installation, we're going to be working underneath the back of our Mazda. We're first going to start by removing this little center section here. It's kind of just like a little plastic support piece. There's going to be a plastic fastener on each side of it. So you can take a trim panel tool or a flathead screwdriver. You can pry underneath the head of it and pull that whole fastener out. And do the same thing for the other side. So once we have both of our rivets removed, if you come to this little opening here, you can take your flathead. There's kind of a little tab you can kind of push up on it. Kind of give you a better look at it there. Do that on this side too. Let me just take this and set it off to the side. With that little section out of the way, it exposed 2 more plastic fasteners. So we'll go ahead and pull those out too. These work the same way. Just pop the head of it down and release the fastener. At this point, we're going to need to lower our exhaust to give us some more room to work. But before we do that, what I'm going to do is take a strap, just kind of run it from side to side. That way it has a little support and we can control how much it hangs down. On each side of our muffler, we're going to have 2 rubber isolator hangers, just like these. And so we're going to need to remove these. That way our exhaust can get lowered down. So what you want to do is spray them down with some lubricant or some soapy water. Then you can just take a pry bar and pry off one side of that rubber hanger. It really doesn't matter which side you take off. Kind of whichever one's the most compliant and easiest to remove. And fold that down out of the way. Same thing there. I'm just going to repeat that same process for the other side of our muffler. Now that we have the exhaust free, what we can do is loosen up our strap a little bit, lower it down. That'll give us the room to work that we need. Now something I want to point out, now that our exhaust is lowered, what you want to do, if you removed this portion of the hanger to get it lowered, you can pull that rubber isolator off. And we want to make sure that all four of them are over the top hangers here. So you want them all to be in this position. That way when we put our hitch up into place, we're not going to have any interference or anything like that. Now if we come to our frame rail, we're going to have a wire harness that's attached to it with a push pin fastener. So you're going to want to grab a trim tool or a flathead screwdriver. Just kind of pry that out, kind of pull it out of the way a little bit. And from this point on, anything we do to one side, we're also going to do to the other side because they're going to be set up the exact same way. Now we can find our attachment points. If we look closer to the front of our CX-5, it might be a little tricky to see because they blend in pretty good, but we're going to have some stickers, and the sticker is going to be covering one of the holes. So we can just peel that back, take it off, and that'll expose one of our attachment points. Now if we move towards the back of our Mazda, we should have another attachment point right here. Now ours does have some undercoating on it, so it's a little tricky to see. And if that's your case, what you can do, it's this larger hole here. If you reach up in there, you can kind of feel that opening and push it. What I'll do is just kind of make a little cut in it. And then you're able to see that attachment point. Now what I'm going to do as well, since our hitch is going to sit flat against the side of the frame rail, what I'm going to do is just take a scraper and kind of scrape off some of this undercoating. That way we know the hitch will lay nice and flat. Now we can prepare our hardware so we can put our hitch up. So this hole here towards the very back of our Mazda, in our case it's just an open hole. So we're going to use a fish wire to pull our hardware inside. Each car may be a little bit different, and what I mean by that is yours may have a threaded nut right here. And so if that's the case, you would simply just use the hardware that's included and listed in your instructions. But with the opening here, what we're going to do is take a pull wire, take the coiled end, push it through that hole and out of this larger hole in the bottom of our frame. I'm going to take a spacer block, put it over the pull wire, and a carriage bolt. Thread that carriage bolt onto the pull wire, and then we can kind of feed that hardware up into the frame rail. We'll pull it out to make sure it's all lined up, but what we're going to do is just push it back just inside of the frame. That way we can put our hitch up and we don't have to worry about that bolt stopping us. We'll be able to put it up and then pull it completely through. This attachment point is going to be a weld nut. So what I like to do is take a tube brush and some lubricant, kind of just run it through to make sure the threads are nice and clean. And the hardware that we're going to be using for this attachment point will be our bolt and a conical tooth washer. We want to make sure that the teeth on the washer are going to face towards the hitch. But what I like to do after I clean out the threads Just kind of start it by hand, make sure it goes in nice and easy. That way we don't have to fight it when the hitch is being held in place. And now that you know it threads in real easy, you can pull it back out. Just keep it close by for when we put the hitch up. So what I have done before we put our hitch up into place is you're going to take the flat washers and you're going to tape one flat washer to each hole in the hitch. So we're going to have 2 on each side. I like to use electrical tape because it's a little more durable and really just helps hold that washer in place where we need it to be. Now we can take our hitch and put it into position. So what I'm going to do is kind of bring it up over the exhaust. You want to make sure that you go above the wiring. Kind of push it back. And I think what I'm going to do is just get this hole back here started first on each side. And that way the hitch will support itself, but we'll still be able to kind of have a little bit of movement and get the hitch into the proper position relatively easily. Now that the hitch is supporting itself on each side, what you're going to want to do is take your pull wire and take the end of it and push it through the opening in the hitch from the inside out. Kind of just pull the slack out. And then we're going to lift up on the hitch and kind of pull our bumper back. Because the hitch is going to sit behind it. So we're just going to work it up into place. Might take a little bit of finesse, but with a little patience, we should be able to get it right where it needs to be. Now that we cleared the bumper, we have some wiggle room. So we'll hold it up. Take our pull wire. We're to get that bolt pulled through. Once you have it pulled through, you can let the weight of the hitch down on it, and that'll kind of help keep it secured. Go ahead and remove your pull wire. We're going to take a flange nut and get each one started hand tight. With all of our hardware in place and hand tight, we can now snug it all up. With all of our hardware all snug, we'll come back with the torque wrench and tighten it down to the amount specified in the instructions. So I went ahead and took the included zip ties and I just wrapped one kind of behind our hitch, up and over, and secured our wiring to it like that. And at this point we can go ahead and re-hang our exhaust. So you'll just want to lubricate the hangers again. Simply just line them up and slide them back into position. Since the exhaust is supporting itself now, we'll go ahead and remove our strap. And then once we have this out of the way, we can move back to the edge of our bumper. Take our push pins and reinstall them. Now that little piece that we removed, that plastic piece that ran across here, we will not be reinstalling that, so that's something you don't need to worry about. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the CURT Trailer Hitch receiver on our 2019 Mazda CX-5.